Hey, we're we're only a couple days away, or 2, 3 days away from the start of football season when Farmageddon, Iowa State, Kansas State takes place in Dublin, Ireland, one of our favorite places on earth. I've heard they've passed a law now that if you're up by 11, you have to kick an onside kick. It's a terrible joke. I want to talk to you about the college football playoff because it's kind of bugged me this entire offseason. It's been an interesting offseason for the college football playoff. There's been a lot of talk. The Big Ten and the SEC came out with their power moves of wanting to have 4 automatic qualifiers, but I think they wanted to expand it to 16 teams at that time and all this. But, the idea of 4 automatic qualifiers, it's just dumb. It really is. I mean, you earn it on the field or don't get in. I realize that those are the 2 most powerful conferences, and they're trying to show their prestige, push their weight around. But I don't know of anybody that likes it, this idea. The Big Ten seems to have hung on to it longer than the SEC. But you had a lot of press about it, a lot of media coverage. The other thing we spent this offseason talking about when it comes to the college football playoff is the whole conference scheduling difference between the Big Ten and the SEC. The SEC plays 8 conference games, and the Big Ten plays 9, and everybody's like, they should go to 9 conference games in the SEC so it's fair. And the SEC doesn't want to do that. They have their cupcakes typically scheduled November thing that they've been doing for a long time. And it sets them up. When they do that, it sets them up pretty well because they basically give their starters a break for a week, and then they're going to go into the rest of the tough part of their schedule if they're good enough, which is getting into the playoff and, playing their conference championship games like that. So it actually is pretty smart scheduling by the SEC. As much as I like Big Ten teams playing each other, I think it would be very nice if we had 8 conference games in the Big Tens, as long as that less conference game that the Big Ten basically said to everybody, you're going to play a Power 4 conference team that's a marquee opponent. Like Texas and Ohio State are going to kick off the season to start this year, and that's going to be an incredible game to watch for college football fans to start the season watching 2 of the best teams in the nation play each other. That's what we should be doing. But unfortunately, we're not. Today, the College Football Playoff Committee, the people that are in charge of that, sent out a press release. And in this press release, I'll read this to you, it says, changes for the upcoming season include enhancements to the tools that the selection committee uses to assess schedule strength and how teams perform against their schedule. The current schedule strength metric has been adjusted to apply greater weight to gains against strong opponents. An additional metric, record strength, has been added to the selection committee's analysis to go beyond a team's schedule strength to assess how a team performed against that schedule. Now, I'm guessing that they're not going to release anything about what these metrics look like. It's going to be a proprietary formula because, you wouldn't want to give away all your secrets. Because right now, here's my biggest problem with this offseason. We've had this banter between the Big Ten and the SEC about the 8 games versus 9 games. But as far as I know, nobody in the media, nobody anywhere, nobody with YouTube channels or anything like that, has kind of pressed the College Football Playoff Committee people to be more forthcoming about how they're selecting people to get into the college football playoff. So today we get this announcement, and it's really nice. It sounds nice. We're gonna reward you for playing stronger opponents. I don't think it's enough. If you look at what Indiana has done lately, okay. At the Big Ten Media Days, Kirk Cignetti said that he was going to take on an SEC scheduling attitude or something like that, which means he was going to play crap opponents. I don't think that's true for the SEC at whole, at large. I think who is it? Alabama's going to play Wisconsin. They've taken the chance on playing Wisconsin. God knows what's going to happen in Wisconsin in that game, but at least they're playing, right? Here's Indiana. I'm going to read you from an article. Indiana Athletic Director Scott Dolson started reshaping the football program's non-conference slate back in 2023 when it opted out of multiple games against Louisville. The Miami, Ohio game replaced part of a recently canceled home-and-home series against Virginia, a Power 4 opponent. The Hoosiers won't play a non-conference Power 4 caliber opponent until a trip up to South Bend to play Notre Dame in 2030. So Indiana's going to load up on cupcakes. And maybe I get it. Maybe if you're an Indiana fan, you're just like, oh, we're happy to be winning games. But is that making football a better product? I don't think it is. Nebraska canceled their game against Tennessee. I wanted to see that game. Did you not want to see that game? Because we're going to play like Houston Christian or somebody. I'm going to harp about this until the season, throughout this entire season. I think it's a crappy move. I know why Matt Rule, he explained it well. I still think it sucks because it's less good football. And the thing about this is, I'm guessing that the counter to the idea that football is being diluted is that because of the college football playoff system, there'll be more marquee games at the end of the season. That's probably how TV executives are seeing this when they look at it and say, are we getting value out of our contracts? You know, or maybe the Big Ten network. But what I would like to see, number one, I'd like to see more pressure from the media. They asking these questions from the College Football Playoff Committee. Could you give us more firm details about this? They're not going to give any more firm details, but you could have somebody putting pressure on them or asking those questions, and they don't. They're going to save it until selection time comes around, and then we're all going to go insane because that's what the cycle is. The College Football Playoff Committee could have a good spokesman, a guy, it's always a guy, come out and say, just bluntly say, it's going to be very difficult for Indiana to get into the college football playoff if that's what they're doing with their schedule, unless they are undefeated and win every game by 20 points. You know, if they would come out and say, we don't want to see you playing crappy opponents to better your chances of getting into the college football playoff. They've done none of that. Nobody hears from the College Football Playoff Committee much, and it's understandable why. I mean, you're a bunch of old guys sitting in a room. Troy Dana, by the way, our athletic director, is on the College Football Playoff Committee this season. So is Mike Riley. But, I mean, if you don't have to give your power away about how you're making decisions, I wouldn't do that either, which is why people should be shining more light on it, I think. Because while we're going to get more marquee games probably out of the college football playoff, and I think the Big Ten with the addition of the 4 Pac-12 teams and, the SEC adding Texas and Oklahoma, maybe more marquee games, but you're still going to find patches in this season where there's not going to be really very many good games to watch on a certain week. I think it's week 7 or week 3 where there's really just not that much going on. And that shouldn't be happening. TV executives should be saying something, at least if nothing else behind the scenes is saying. The Big Ten Network should be saying to Indiana, you expect us to show this shit on TV and get ratings for it? What the hell? But they're not going to do that, and the reason why they're not going to do that is because live sports is the most valuable asset on television these days. I know we went through this whole Stephen Colbert and its censorship. Well, when was the last time you actually turned on TV to watch late night shows? I can't remember the last time I turned on TV to watch anything on TV that wasn't a live sporting event. And that's how valuable live sports is. Because all the other assets on pretty much broadcast TV, I couldn't tell you the name of a show that's on broadcast TV right now, other than, Big Noon Saturday or whatever the hell it is on Fox and College Game Day on ESPN. I have Saturday Night Live, I guess that's still there, isn't it? But my point about all this is we have seen massive, huge change in college football. We've seen the NIL, the NIL stuff come in. We've seen the House settlement where schools are paying their players. We've seen, this 12-team playoff expansion come in. This last week, somebody released some stuff that the Big Ten was considering pushing like a 24 or 28 team playoff, and everybody poo-pooed it and said it was terrible and what an idiotic idea. And I think a playoff committee person even said, well, this is dumb. It may not be dumb in about 4 or 5 years, because I think we're in a kind of a dangerous point for college football. And that danger becomes this. If we're all looking at a playoff and who gets into the playoff as determining what is successful for college football, if in 3 games into the season your team isn't going to make the college football playoff, and you're a Nebraska fan, or you're a Tennessee fan, or you're an Alabama fan, you're a fan of a team where you gauge successes, get into the playoff, and they're not going to make it, you're just going to quit. You're right? I mean, I know there's diehard Nebraska fans. We have very good fans. But mostly I'm guessing that most people are just going to go like, check out. I mean, it's just going to check out. You don't see that as much in the NFL. Why? Because about half the teams in the league get into the playoffs in one form or another, whether they're wild cards or not. They do that very well. So in about 4 or 5 years, if we see that fans are checking out and the TV ratings are going to hell in the mid-season for a lot of teams that should be marquee games, suddenly a 24-team playoff is probably going to not look like that bad an idea, because it at least would be forcing better teams to be playing each other rather than the crap that we're ending up with in some of these places. Again, Nebraska versus Houston Christian. I have nothing against your school if you're a Houston Christian person, but it's not a game. It's just we're showing up to spend money, and it's crap is what it is. It's part of, you pay for a package of the season tickets and all that stuff, and they go here and there's one piece of crap in there. Akron, come on, I hate to pull the old man card, but remember the old days when we'd play like Iowa and Florida State in the same season, out of conference? That happened. It did. Was it 1981? 1982, we started the season 0-2, lost to Iowa. Everybody went insane, wanted Tom House burned down, him fired, and oh my God, the world was ending. Anyway, that's what I think about the college football playoff and the state of college football. I think it will be very interesting to see what happens this season. I'm not talking about just Nebraska stuff, but what happens to college football? What happens to fans? I love this sport. I've loved it my entire life, otherwise I wouldn't be doing this. I think that's all I have for this one. I'm going to have I'll do a season prediction video coming up, and I'm actually going to do another video on why I think football may have only 15 years left to live, 10 or 15 years left to live. So get ready for college football season. It starts this Saturday morning, Farmageddon. I'm looking forward to watching that game, because the world is just a better place when it has college football in it, right? Yeah. Love you all. Thank you for the support, and go Big Red. Never works.